She designed Broadway's first production of Grease, which means she defined forever our memories of the 50s. She made the stigmata glow on Agnes of God's dress, and she even created every elegant 30s uniform for the restaurant or the staff of the Rainbow Room, down to the shoes on the last cigarette girls. Welcome to Women in Theater. I'm Linda Weiner, theater critic of Newsday, and our guest today is Carrie Robbins, whose creative obsession with detail and period accuracy has informed more than 30 Broadway shows, major operas, and even a season of Saturday Night Live. As she explains the power of her meticulous work, I'm not just drawing, I'm thumbing through the characters' closets at the same time. I love that quote. Now, here you are, the most meticulous draftsman drawer. Your sketches are famous for being as meticulous and hands-on.
Yeah.
And here you are, one of the first and costume designers to now create your sketches on the computer.
You know, to me, it is a fabulous tool. If I can only get a little more control of it, that would be better. Yeah. It's about the control. But the reason I started doing it is because taking your time to draw is a luxury that sometimes in a show you don't have.
Yeah, and most people, each drawing is like you would take an hour, 5 hours.
Well, you probably should take an hour. Yeah, I would easily take maybe 8 hours in different sections.
Each drawing.
You know, like I would draw the thing, I would think about it, I would redraw, and by the time I got back to it and I painted it in and I looked at fabric and I came back and I thought some more and
you ground up a little glass to make it look like
that's right,
like stained glass on the drawing.
I learned that going to a class taught by the scribe to Queen Elizabeth. Learned how to do my own paint, but at any rate, truly obscure. But we don't have that time in theater, and the computer, I thought, might help me do a quality work that I thought was reasonable and go faster. That was my original thought. And that to me would be a boon, so if I could cut my time down. And when I started playing around with it, I saw not only could I go a little faster, but I had more options. So in the old days when I drew something, I drew a red dress. And the director looked at it and said, fine. And then we went away and we got some fabric. And then he said, you know, this is the mythical director.
That's all right.
You know, I know I said red, but actually on reflection, on thinking, I think maybe it should be green. Let's have a look at it in green. Well, that for me would be
knife.
It's another chunk of hours to do the drawing. In the computer, that is a click or two away.
Oh my God.
So I now in the computer can set up, I can set up this drawing so that the red could be changed. I can set it up so that these little fur bits could go away. I could set it up and do 5 hairstyles or a hat.
And you don't feel less hands-on in terms of...
it's still your hand.
Still your hand.
You don't get a drawing if you can't. You do have to be able to draw.
Yeah, it doesn't just do it for you.
It doesn't do
Damn,
that.
I thought,
I think there actually are programs that probably are made for people who can't draw.
Yeah.
But you have
Costume designing -1.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. You have a little stylus, and you have a little electronic pad. Don't ask me how it actually works. That I don't know. But the pad is electrically hooked to the screen, so you are looking at the screen, but you're drawing here, and it's pressure sensitive, so that the impulses. I mean, the nice thing about drawing in the classical sense is that the pressures that you put on something is reflected in the quality of the line. The computer picks that up. It's been taught.
Oh, that's so cute.
Which is really kind of
really
a cute
nice.
trick. Yeah.
And so, how long have you been doing that now?
I think I started in maybe 94, 95.
So this is now 2005. So you've been
almost
doing
10 years.
it about 10 years. Are there a lot? Am I wrong to say you're one of the few designers that's using it?
I probably am one of the few in the costume world. The scenery people are a little more sharp, and I have had arguments with people, and we taught a small class down at NYU, but I would say generally...
Well, you've taught a long time.
Yes,
at NYU.
I have, many years. But generally speaking, it has been slow going because the computer is interpreted as a mechanical thing. But, you know, it's what you put in.
Yeah.
If you want to put in something you hope will be, I hope these will be artistic, then...
They're beautiful.
You know, they do take a little more time. That's
While
all.
we're still talking about the computer, we have all your wonderful work here. This was, by the way, for White Christmas, which has been done for 2 years in San Francisco.
Right.
But New York hasn't seen it, therefore.
No, New York hasn't seen it. The closest would be the Boston Company, which we did this year, and San Francisco, again, as you said, and LA. Those are the 3 cities. And next year, they tell us it'll be some more cities.
Are these productions that tour then, or these are just separate sit-down
productions? So each one had, I don't know, somewhere I think under 300 costumes, but this summer to fall I did almost 900 costumes.
And this would be a nice, a wonderful kind of holiday event, except for who wants to, you know, see another Christmas Carol.
Well, how many can you see? And then you see the Nutcracker and you're done.
Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful piece. It's Irving Berlin music. How can you go wrong? The text has been...
directed it, right?
Robbie directed it. He is very sharp about this kind of material.
Interesting.
You know, and the book has been revised and updated, not changing the time, but making the arc of the characters a little better by David Ives. And he knows how to do that.
Yeah, he does that
very,
of course.
Yeah, meticulous tinkering.
Before we leave computers, can you please take that scarf out? This is fantastic. Can you explain what this is?
I will. Let me show you first of all. Let me just show you right here. Nowadays, because of the computer, one can actually print yardage. So if you had your heart set on, let me take these out. If you had your heart set, here I drew.
Yes,
I don't know if you
this
can
is
see.
for me. This is for me. I'll see it later.
So I drew a sketch where I saw these 2 girls in the famous Sisters song from White Christmas. It's one of the songs most people remember. And I drew this paisley, and it intrigued me. And then we went to find enough yardage to make 2 dresses per times 3, 6 dresses. So that was 75 yards. That is a hard thing to find in this particular pattern that I drew. But we were able to make it in the computer, and the computer gives you a range of samples and all these colors.
This is just frightening. So you've actually made this pattern on the computer?
Yeah. Well, you can make any pattern, or you can lift a pattern from something else. You can scan. I actually made another paisley that was less good, the one I made myself. This is made by a fabric maven, so it's better than mine.
And therefore you're not dependent on going through thrift stores and calling people from the internet and asking if they have ancient Chinese fabric in Texas.
Right, that's right. But I did do that, yes.
So for someone as, I mean this in the nicest possible way, compulsive as you are about detail, the control is fantastic.
It is. And in order to control it, the printers, have the same as printers on paper, but it's printed on silk, or if you were on a poly, and there's a chart.
This is a color chart.
It's a color chart, so you can see what the colors are. And I thought that it itself was just beautiful, and so I made a scarf. You know. I thought that was neat.
I think it's great.
Isn't that super?
And each one then, it's, you know, you can say, no, I want my wall to be like that.
That's
instead.
right. It gives the information to whoever is at the computer.
And it has the little numbers there with the names.
So those numbers correspond to CMYK, which is the information in the computer that drives the computer printing. It's really fantastic.
Quite amazing.
It is amazing,
now,
isn't it?
This is a long way from, in 1980, you looking through Life magazines and people's yearbooks, high school yearbooks, to try to recreate the look of the 50s for the original Grease.
Well, but that was easy because there was very, very little budget. And that little budget, you know, so many times budget drives the quality and the nature of the project. And we call that art. But the budget was small, and so I went to thrift stores, so I was automatically right. I mean, all I had to do was recognize a piece from the 50s and say, well, this will go on so-and-so, and think about the characters and think about what's in their closet.
So you did these poodle skirts, the
Yeah,
felt poodle skirts
right.
that we are all now so
That's right.
sick of in every production.
As am I.
Right.
And in fact, that particular poodle was, because we had so little money, the fluffy part that made the poodle was the top of a toilet seat. Do you remember? You remember toilet seats were
The fluffy ones?
The fluffy ones,
I
right?
love the 70s.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I made it out of.
Wow.
And Frenchie's red hair, because we had no money. This shows you how things become wonderful in retrospect if they're a success. Frenchie had a red wig. We didn't have enough money for a red wig. We found a fairly crappy, can I say crappy?
We can say crappy. It's nonprofit TV.
Okay. A blonde one, and we took a bunch of orange magic markers and magic markered the wig to get it red for Frenchie. And years later, when Grease was a huge success, I went down to the basement on some company or other, and there was the wardrobe guy with magic markers. I said, you know, we have enough money. We could have someone really, really fine make this wig. He said, oh, but it'll never be. It'll never be. How wonderful.
Handmade. It was handmade
Right.
then. This was not just this was the Broadway version of Grease. I was from Chicago. I saw it at Kingston Mines.
Oh, my
which was the
God.
original one before
Right.
it came and became
Was
this
Mary
huge.
Lou Henner in that one?
You know, I don't think so. But then again, I would.
She
I
was
wouldn't-
from Chicago.
I wouldn't have known her then. I didn't know who. But anyway, are you rich from Grease? Sorry.
Well, no. Stupidly,
Yes.
and this is a number that's burned in my brain and the brain of all the designers. We made $67.50 per week for 9 years. $67.50. I believe that people like the directors and the choreographer and those of a more important socioeconomic status made thousands per week.
Sure.
So did I get rich? No. $67 a week, it goes so fast.
Should have copyright all those looks, and then you'd be living off hairspray too.
Yeah, you don't do it. You don't do it for money.
You've been teaching. Are you still teaching at NYU? You did for a very long time.
I did. I just retired this past year.
And I read that at the beginning, students never asked you about business. That it was
That's
always
true.
about the art, and that you would sort of force them. You would say things, tell them about union rates, and
And made people annoyed with me.
well,
Yeah.
I would think though that $67 a week would be a very, very good lesson.
Right, but that's the bad way to learn it. To get out in the field, have that mistake made. It was actually $75, but the rest, the differential, was taken by the agent, who was not very helpful, obviously. But, in teaching is a hard thing because you walk a very fine line between the respect for the art, the importance of the text, the ability to read and interpret, and you are one of many interpreters. It's a very tricky skill, and all of the pragmatic things that make up the differential between what's on the page and what's on the stage. So you're always walking a fine line. Am I giving them enough of the practical that they can do this business? Am I giving them enough of the sense of the history and the art and the respect and the way of thinking? Am I giving them a modality in order to do the job? And it's very hard to know where to go.
Well, you must be doing something right, because the Irene Sheriff Awards. You said 5 of the last 10 were students of yours.
Yeah,
so.
the Irene Sheriff Awards are given each year in the past 10 years, and there is a position or an award for what they call a young master. It would be someone who's out of school about maybe 10 years, 12 years, something like that, even 15. And of the 10 that have been given out, 5 have been my students.
Well, that feels good now.
And yes, I'm very proud of that. And I must say that of the other 5, there is no consistent group. You know, one went to another university, someone went to, you know. So I do feel terrific about that.
There's a little Carrie Robbins growing up around.
Well, I hope they design in their own style
course.
And spirit. And all
now,
that.
you growing up,
I'm from Balmer, Maryland.
From Balmer, Maryland. You were drawing on the walls.
I was. My parents thought there was a problem. They took me to a shrink because I was drawing on the walls. And the shrink said to send her to art class. And so at 3, I went to art school. And I went every year. And I got to undergraduate school. I went to Penn State. And it was the only university that would allow me to take a complete double major. So I had a major in theater and a major in art. I wanted to see what both were about.
To put them together.
Yeah, and to see if I could put them together. And so I took, you know, courses in Middle English plays. Chanticleer, and I got a wonderful, I mean, it was tough because it was 24 credits a semester.
But that liberal arts education
fantastic
is so important for artists, and I think that we forget that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it wasn't completely liberal arts because it was skewed towards the theater and skewed towards art, but that's not bad.
And then you went to Yale for your MFA, but you were really looking at set design and architecture more than costumes then?
I was then when I started. It's so long ago, I have to reach into my brain to remember it. That's right, yeah. And actually, when I got to Yale, the professor was Donald Ohmslager, and he threw me out. Yes, he did. He said, "We don't need women in this profession. You will not work." These were before the days when one said, wait a second, that's not an acceptable thing to say.
Yeah, isn't it? It's just so astonishing when you think that's ancient history, but no, it's not. It's when we lived. We were growing up.
Yeah, and I said, but I think I can design. And I went to talk to a few of the other teachers, and they said, well, I showed them my work, and they said, well, yeah, why don't we just, we'll call you a costume designer, you know. We'll try that, see if that works. And I said, okay.
Well, and sewing, so it's more of a girl thing, right?
It's a girly girl thing,
You don't need hammer and nails.
Women set designers have a horrible time. It's very, very sad, you know. And there are so many good ones that are turned out each year in various schools, so I'm hoping that'll improve.
And then you went to Parsons School of Design because you wanted to deal. There was this lovely quote that said, "I don't think I'm comfortable talking to a tailor." So you went to fashion school.
Yeah, well,
so that you could really get a feel for the fabrics. And
right. At Yale, it was more ethereal, more the intellectual. I could make a case for just about anything, any way you wanted to argue it, like a good lawyer, I suppose. But when it came to the tactile part, which costumes is all about fabric, because if the fabric doesn't want to do it, it won't be pretty on stage. So if you want to make it ugly, you'd have to know what it won't do. You'd have to know the inverse. And I felt that I knew essentially nothing because that was not part of the thinking or the modalities at Yale. They didn't think it was terribly important. So, okay, you're in New York City, you can fix anything. So I went to Parsons. I went to FIT.
Fashion Institute of Technology.
Fashion Institute of Technology. I went to SVA, School of Visual Arts. I went to, I went to the Art Students League. I didn't feel my drawing was secure, so I took life drawing with great, great people.
And how'd you get there from there to Lead Ahead a Little Swan? Which is what, your first Broadway show?
Yeah, we called it Lita Had the Large Egg. You know, it just was circumstance. When I got out of Yale, I got a job in California at a theater with the artistic director being Andre Gregory.
Oh, my, sure.
And who was
a
fabulous, true, if you've ever seen that movie,
yes,
My Dinner with Andre?
Sure.
With, is it Wally Shawn in that? He is exactly that. He is a great raconteur, just great. And he could he just could spin anything. He just was a
But
mesmerizing.
you ended up with Broadway.
So I went out there in California, and then Andre got a job directing Lita Had a Little Swan.
Okay.
It was written by a British critic, I think, named Bamber Gascoigne.
Oh my God! A name that will now go down in history because of us. Can we talk a little bit more about the Broadway shows? You've worked on a lot of Broadway shows,
Yeah.
and some that didn't make it and that didn't open.
I think I've done more failures,
which must
than just
be,
about everybody.
Yeah. But you did get a Tony nomination for a class act, which is a musical.
No. The class act got a Tony nomination for itself. I didn't get one.
Costumes did not.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
Well, it's
You know.
still, the costumes were wonderful. It's a wonderful
Oh,
show.
thank you. I thought it was a sweet show. I got nominations for the Grease, and I got nominations for something else that no one would ever have heard of called Over Here. It
The Andrews
starred.
Sisters?
That's right.
Okay.
They
All
were
right.
something.
Now,
They were something.
how different is it to work for opera? Now, I know this last summer I saw your production, not your production, Tazewell Thompson's production
Right.
with your costumes of Death in Venice at Glimmerglass.
Yeah. Oh, well, I've done several things with
Yes.
Taz. He is an extraordinary, really, director. And you can see, when you look at the photographs, if you look at some of the photographs of this opera, you can see that here is a director who knows how to place people in space. He looks at pictures and photographs of people in space and truly thinks three-dimensionally. And to me, this looks like John Singer Sargent.
Yeah, it really
I
is
hope
quite.
John Singer Sargent would not mind me saying that.
So, and he obviously, how much does he have to deal with your computer then? Do you know, does he have something to do with the technology?
You know,
does he have to understand
at
it?
it.
Does he have to understand it, or that's your
Well,
job?
you know, my goal is to be able to draw clearly enough instead of just making a scribble, so that if I show him and I say, you know, Taz, this is the leading man, here's the cloth, I actually scan this cloth in there so that it looks accurate, and I spend enough time, I think, that I'm communicating with him clearly. So it's very rare where I hear any director that I've worked with say, oh, I didn't know it would look like that. Because, you know, we're spending a lot of money. We're custom tailoring suits. These are big numbers. These are expensive dresses. And I think this is the only promise that I have to the director, and this is my communication with the shop and the tailor.
Does it end up being less expensive working on the computer? And this is the last computer question, but then doing the drawings because it's less labor intensive, or does it really, it's a wash?
Yeah, I think in terms of expense, well, you know, you have to buy a computer.
What about your adventures in high-end restaurant design? You were ahead of your time there.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think other people have, other designers have done it. I don't know offhand who they are, but
well, there's set designers now that.
oh, that's true. That are
David Rockwell.
He's the perfect example,
yeah.
right? I was lucky to work with an extraordinary restaurateur named Joseph Baum, who in the restaurant set is a very special person, and he truly believed that because theater is getting so expensive, both opera and Broadway, that the next available theater will be in the restaurant, and that is the theater. And he thought of it as a theatrical space.
And so you really ended up being meticulous about every single button and every single seam on all the costumes.
Right,
for
and
the players.
They were
in the
exactly that.
restaurant.
That's how he thought about them, and I learned a lot about how you have to identify a guy who stands at the door who is a person of importance, a host or hostess, how you have to identify the guy who clears the dishes.
So they have backstories.
Yes, right.
That are identified through the costumes.
Right. You're not supposed to ask.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't confuse a patron with someone who's of service.
And what do you do with tomato stains?
Well,
it's got to be a lot worse than
tricky.
just flop sweat, you know?
Yeah. Well, there's a whole Teflon spray which can be put on.
Okay.
And you could throw wine at it and it just rolls off. So we should use that in the theater more.
I know that you have a production coming up at the Arena Stage, a revival of Eric Overmeyer's
On the Verge, right.
And you are also doing it with Tazewell Thompson.
Right.
And could you tell us a little bit about that and when it's going to open? Because, you know, we taped this in January of 2005. So
Right. This will open first.
2006.
2006.
I've
right.
lost it. Yeah, I'm sorry.
We will. We're just starting it right now. He's just completing the casting, and it will preview in Westport
In Connecticut.
in Connecticut, March, I think 7th or 8th, 7th, 8th, 9th.
Of this year, which is 2006.
6, right?
Okay.
In the month of March
Yes,
is when that will happen.
Okay.
And then it will play, I believe, about 3 weeks, and then it will go down to Arena in Washington, D.C., and I believe the dates of that are early May. I'm not sure.
Well,
I should know
our
that.
time is up, and I'm hoping that we'll get to see it and see much more of your work. And I just think the background and how you do it is just so interesting and unlike anything that we've had.
Well, I'm hoping to
here.
spread the word to people about the
thank you
computer.
so much, Carrie Robbins, for being here. And thank you for joining us. On behalf of the League of Professional Theater Women, I'm Linda Weiner, and this has been Women in Theater.